I don't know, it's just what I did. I think as long as I can remember, I had that identity that I was an artist. I am Jeff Gogue, and we're in Grants Pass, Oregon at Off the Map Northwest. I've been tattooing for 14 years. You know, from as early as I can remember, like kindergarten at my school, they would have the library art contest, and I always won. And my mom was a graphic artist and a fine artist, and so I just grew up with pencils and books and paint, and I never really painted, but my mom painted all the time, and I would watch her, and I don't know, it's just what I did. I think as long as I can remember, I had that identity that I was an artist. And, you know, teachers would see the work that I was drawing even as early as kindergarten, first grade, and they would introduce me as, oh, he's an artist, he's an artist. So I think that identity really drove me to it. Yeah, I mean, it lasted all the way through high school. I enrolled in a really fancy art college after high school, and I just chickened out last minute. I started tattooing in '99 after a back injury, and I was a construction worker. I worked for a contractor. I had always drawn, but I had never made a living at it. I tried in my early 20s and all through high school to sell artwork, and I would just do pretty refined renderings of like wildlife pictures. I'd go to the zoo and take pictures of animals, but you know, people didn't want really black and gray or black, you know, they didn't want colorless art. It's funny, my first few attempts at taking my drawings around to galleries and stuff, I had one guy tell me that I needed to do color, and I told him I don't do color. And he said, well, women want to match their art to their couch. And as a, you know, a teenager and an idealist, I was just like, well, that's not art. Now it's funny because if I buy a painting, I want it to match at least the decor of the house. Maybe not my couch, but I understand it now. You know, there's art for the aesthetic side of things, and then there's art for the rebellion and the message and everything else. And we're commercial artists, so as commercial artists, we have to balance those things. But anyway, I had a friend that was into tattoos and I wasn't, and he told me that after seeing some of those drawings I had done, he thought I'd be a good tattooer. I'm trying to find my style. You know, I started off trying to do bright tattoos. I had a real attraction to traditional imagery. I liked, you know, anchors and cherry blossoms and swallows and all those tattoo-y things. I had a real attraction to realism because I had grown up drawing like that. So I really liked pinups, portraits, things like that. And as I got farther into tattoos and kind of created a name for doing that style of work, I felt like so was everyone else. I got frustrated with that kind of scene, and honestly, seeing everyone else that seemed to have more patience for those details. You know, specifically like Nikko. You know, I met him at the Detroit Motor City show, and I had won Best of Show there the year before with a pinup, and then the next year I go there and I wanted to really shine, and of course I meet Nikko and I look at his portfolio, and it was just like, oh well, I guess I'm done with that. I decided to really focus more on Japanese influenced. I think I've always been attracted to the concept of drawing my own designs, and I would see people get clever with Photoshop and know how to manipulate things, and I could never do that. I just didn't have the inclination. So I stepped away from that, and I've spent, honestly, the last 7 or 8 years trying to get better at just drawing, so that every piece that I do, I want to be able to draw it on the skin or just draw it on paper with my own. I'll loosely reference stuff, like take a picture, but I'm not going to manipulate stuff and then trace it. I think my end goal for any piece is for it to look tattoo-y, you know, that tattoo style, which I think a lot of people would say is traditional, but I'm not trying to make anything traditional. I'm not trying to follow strict traditions. I'm just trying to make things look like tattoo.
I was thinking about what I wanted to do for my center, you know what I mean? Like something that symbolizes it, not necessarily literal translation, but just something that, for me, trying to find other ways of explaining it, you know, through symbolism. And one of them is going through Jeff, who I feel like is great at balancing complex images with simplicity.
I would say the stuff below should build into whatever you do below instead of bringing this around.
Okay.
I know that a lot of guys end up wanting, it's like, oh, I want it to be fuller, I don't want above, but it just looks stronger above, staying above. So that's good. And I want to just do a nice combination of tattoo style and then dimensional stuff. So I would say some nice clean lines around the outside of like the brushes and stuff. And
whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm easy.
I'm gonna make a stencil of this and then I'll draw everything else on.
Cool.
So give me just a couple minutes.
You got it. You know? And so like juxtaposing black and gray in color, you know, life and death, and things like that, to me, were enough to symbolize the balance for the tattoo to give its the meaning that I wanted it to have.
You know, Ryan asked for my interpretation of something that's pretty specific. You know, it's like 2 roses, the skull, tying it in from death to life, but with a crossover. So it was really pretty straightforward. I really look at the surrounding aspects of it, you know, coming off the arm, look for a strong positioning on his chest. Then it just comes down for me to aesthetics, you know, just flow. I want every stroke, every line to have a natural movement to it. So I'm really focused really on the fundamentals. I'm not thinking of a rose or a letter. I'm just thinking of the way the needles move and having a natural stroke. No one's going to stop and look at it and be like, oh, look how every stroke has a natural movement. It's just going to read overall as more fluid. You know, I really build things based on elements, so I try to get a feel like whether it relates more to water or fire or wind or, you know, floral things. I try to keep things really simple in the element department. So ingredients, elements, general message, I try to keep things simple. And then try to go with, I really like just simple big images that are a little bit more vague. You can read metaphor into them rather than, you know, deliberately making something super obvious. I like having a little mystery in the subjects. You know, tattoo artists, I would say the first ones that I remember going, man, I want to do good work like that is like Scott Sylvia. He stands out to me. And then, you know, he had like that real tattoo style, that San Francisco neo-traditional, and I really didn't know anyone else I remember the first time I saw Robert Hernandez, his work changed my life because I just saw stuff in his that I just didn't know could be done. And his stuff was like 10 years old. So when I saw Robert's work, I started down that path. And like I said, then I met Nikko and I just switched gears. And then I just started looking at people like Shige and Philip Liu, and those guys have had the biggest influence altogether. I'm always, I'm trying to figure myself out, and I've been eager along the way to share my lessons really quick. So I learned something about tattooing or art, and I instantly want to share that and bring everyone into the same place I am. And I'm wanting more and more to stop. Like, I don't want to teach someone how to paint, or I don't want to teach people how to tattoo anymore. I did 6 years of seminars, and anymore I just want to tattoo and let the work inspire people. And I know I'm going to lose my audience to a degree, but I just want to do it and have people be moved by it. It's funny, I live this ironic thing where I worked so hard at learning how to get realistic, dimensional aspects to my work, only to feel like too dependent on it, and then now to just be stripping it away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of groomed, if you will, for artistry. It's fine. It's just my challenge personally is to cut away. I was told as a child that I was destined for it, so I believed it. Now I realize I'm just normal, and it just takes a lot of work.